Hey Frodo, sum up your thoughts on Rings of Power Season 2. In one of my recent videos I reviewed Season 2, Episodes 1 to 3 of Rings of Power. It was so painful it facilitated spontaneous and violent leakage from my backside. Incontinence aside, I didn't hold out much hope that the show might get any better, but I am a sucker for punishment and decided to slog my way through the rest of it.
Thank you, sir. May I have another?
And this show has to be one of the dumbest things I've ever watched. And what struck me was how mind-meltingly dull it was also. There were scenes that were just absolutely shockingly painful and unintentionally hilarious. So what were the dumbest things about episodes 3 to 8 of Rings of Power Season 2? A touch of deja vu? The most ridiculously annoying thing about this series was the continual ripping off of scenes from famous films and hoping no one will notice. They did it in Series 1, when poor man's Legolas is captured by Adar Number 1. The entire scene was just an absolute rip-off of Apocalypse Now, when Willard is being interrogated by Kurtz. There were even more examples of this in Season 2.
Captain leaving deck!
He's nobody's captain now.
He's right.
Captain, my captain.
Sit down, Mr. Anderson.
Honey, are you okay? What? What?
I predict that in just a moment, we will see a lady on a red bike, followed by a man with flowers, and a Volkswagen Beetle with a dented fender.
Truman, please.
Look. Lady. Flowers.
To confess all and swear allegiance to the king, that he might show you mercy.
Will he show mercy to my country?
Mercy is to die quickly. Perhaps even live in a tower. In time, who knows what can happen?
I don't know why writers of modern media feel the need to do this. Are they so devoid of any talent? That's a rhetorical question, by the way. I think it's clear to just about everyone that the writers of this show have about as much writing talent as a runny green squelcher that's been sprayed across the wall of Shakespeare's toilet. Pointless characters. What the hell was going on with this plank? In hindsight, he should have been called Nothing rather than Nobody, because nothing was exactly what his character achieved and brought to the storyline. I suppose I should look on the plus side. The cheesiness of his emerging romance with the dumb, pointless Hobbit number 2 certainly contributed to a slimming of my waistline. And while we're on the subject of pointless characters, what was the point of the two dumb, pointless hobbits again? In this series they were completely marginalised and didn't have a role in the story. During the course of the series they literally did the square root of fuck all. To be honest, for most of their scenes it felt like I was watching a soap opera rather than a fantasy show. The evisceration of Tolkien's characters. Do you remember when orcs were fearless, gruesome and horrifying killing machines? Well, those days are well and truly gone, my friends. Now they're just wimpy, emotional simps who just want to be cuddled and loved. Whoever thought this was a good idea needs to get their head tested. But not only do we get emotional orcs, we also get wimpy dwarves too. Like in the scene where a group of dwarves are confronted by Disa, she summons a cauldron of bats which promptly scares them away. Given that dwarves are fearless warriors who spend their entire lives digging for riches in the deepest and darkest of caves, you'd think they might be used to the sight of a bat or two. If she really wanted to scare them away, I think it would have been more realistic if she had stuck a napkin down the front of her tunic, squirted them with ketchup, and then licked her lips. Not many characters were spared from this horrifying evisceration. Even the big bad, Sauron, was portrayed like some mewing, pathetic sissy. This is the tyrannical megalomaniac who wants to bend the whole of Middle-earth to his will. The badass who created horrific creatures, whose words are so evil they literally corrupt a man's mouth into a twisted, rotten and blackened mess. So given what we know about this evil scumbag, why is he now crying like a big wuss and making little goo-goo eyes at Galadriel as though he's desperate to slip inside her? I mean, just fuck off. 'Tis but a scratch. Why are now some of the characters now completely invincible? It just seems impossible for anyone to die. Galadriel gets carved up by Sauron, then she throws herself off a cliff. But she takes it like an absolute G, and she's absolutely fine. Perhaps even more impressive is how poor man's Legolas survives multiple stabbings from Adar number 2. To me, it looks like he should be proper fucked. But no, barely moments later, he's managed to walk it off and is providing much needed medical attention to Galadriel. Well, he doesn't actually. He just sits there and pulls stupid faces while the other two blokes do all the work. To be honest, his whole character has been pretty pointless this season. The writers were completely screwed with what to do with him after the actress who played his love interest decided that the dole queue would be a better career move than returning to appear in this pile of excrement. Taps characters. Yes, that's right, the characters in this show are thick as pig shit. Why don't the baddies of Middle-earth ever kill anyone anymore? They just want to capture people. Like after Galadriel has pulled her Jean-Claude Van Damme routine, you'd think the orcs would want rid of her, but no, they just tie her up and let her live. And the whole purpose of her being captured appears to be that she could tell Adar number 2 how dumb he was for falling into Sauron's trap. This wasn't the only dumb thing Adar number 2 did. Like when he let Elrond say goodbye to Galadriel. Good one, mate, I'm sure he's not going to do anything sneaky here. Basically, this bloke is so dumb, he deserved to be painted all over the walls, floors and ceiling. But as thick as Adar number 2 was, he doesn't have a patch on Celebrimbor, who is without doubt the dumbest fuckwit of the year. Captain Obvious. Yes, that's right, as with Season 1 it's pretty obvious where most things are going. Examples of this are the emotional orc. I mean, anyone who couldn't see that this plank was going to betray Adar number 2 is seriously visually impaired. It was the same story with the quest for Gandalf's staff. When Tom gives him the choice, he can go back and save his friends or search for his staff. It was obvious that he was supposed to go back, that this was some kind of test. But in case anyone was unsure, luckily Gandalf goes all the way back to Tom to confirm that it was all a test, just in case we were too dumb to work it out for ourselves. All in all, Rings of Power is a shining example of what happens when writers are unleashed on a project with little or no appreciation or understanding of the source material. It's also a testament to what happens when you try and cram 300 years of storyline into a 2-week period. Hopefully this pile of excrement will be cancelled now. After all, if it was a torture victim, even the most sadistic of interrogators would be putting this shower out of its misery now.